Good morning to you on this 25th day of April. It's a sunny morning here in Johannesburg in South Africa. If you've tuned in, you have reached the fifth connection, where we are talking through the storyline of 303 verses of a sermon. But it's a story that's unfolding about the importance of stick-to-itiveness, the importance of believing, of loyal allegiance to the cross. And across these 13 chapters, the writer is talking to Christian Hebrews about the importance of sticking with Jesus. Don't go back to the old covenant, the old way. The old way is now obsolete. You are no closer to Jesus if you are a Sabbath keeper or a Torah keeper or a law keeper. But you are to stick with Yeshua HaMashiach, Christ the King. And so we are in a very important section of the text, but it's important this morning to be aware of gatekeeping. Because across our communities, we have gatekeepers. We have many examples of what gatekeepers look like. A newspaper editor or editors are gatekeepers because they decide what articles can be published and what is good enough and what is not good enough. And then you have peer reviewers, what we call blind peer reviewers in academic research. They publish the results of their academic journals and they submit these articles. And of course, those who review it, the peers, who are the experts in the field, determine if the study or studies met the rigors of academia. We have them all over the place, don't we? We have them in the persons of TV program directors, casting directors. We have literary agents who, when an author writes a book, they are the gatekeepers. And the agent represents the author and helps that author to sell the book to the publisher. A more everyday example would be bouncers. Bouncers are the gatekeepers of a club or a pub. And of course, they keep out undeserving, could you call them guests, out of that arena or out of that space. Well, when it comes to the people of God, when it comes to the life of the assembly, guess who are the gatekeepers? Well, the community is responsible as the gatekeeper of commitment. It's community together with leaders. It's not solely the leader who is the gatekeeper. They are the gatekeepers because they are equally responsible together with the community. And they are not the gatekeepers of 10 points of belief in a statement of faith, but they are the gatekeepers over a process of dispositional knowing. How do we get to know stuff? How do we get to embody that stuff? The outcome of which would be propositional statements. Propositions are the currency of dispositional knowing, but they are not the knowing itself. They are data compressions of what we say we believe, the essence of which is in the embodiment of how we got to believe. So we're talking through a very big area here, and here are 10 verses of the story that unfold the community responsibility as the gatekeeper of commitment. And so the question behind this section, the probe is, how is community responsible for its own? How is the community responsible for its own? And we're going to look at verse 14 to 24. 14 to 17 says, strive for peace with everyone and for the holiness without which no one will see God. You don't score brownie points when you do this, but it's something you strive for because you are a child of the King. You're part of the family, part of the believing community. Strive for peace with everyone and for the holiness without which no one will see the Lord. See to it that no one fails to obtain the grace of God, that no root of bitterness springs up and causes trouble, and by it many become defiled. That no one is sexually immoral or unholy like Esau, who sold his birthright for a single meal. For you know that afterward, when he desired to inherit the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no chance to repent, though he sought it with tears. We need to be stirred to stick to itiveness. We, we are not, as a Bond movie would say, shaken, not stirred, right? But we are stirred to stick to itiveness because suffering is a sign and a substantiation of our sonship. That's why when we go through the tough times, it's par for the course, it's part of the deal. And from verse 14 to verse number 17, the exhortation is quite simple. The responsibility of the believing community for their own is right there. It's for their own. Those who are prone to falling away, to slipping, to apostatizing. The writer then urges the community to pursue peace in verse 14 and holiness, and to watch out for those who might struggle with forfeiting God's grace, falling from grace, and developing a defiling root of bitterness or becoming apostate with no opportunity for repentance. So we are responsible. Am I my brother's keeper? Don't be like Cain. He murders Abel, and when he's confronted, he says, am I my brother's keeper? Yes, you are. We ought to be looking out for each other. We must become the eyes in the back of each other's heads so that we can hold each other accountable. Because I can see spots in you, which very often I cannot see in myself. And you see the spots in me, which you very often cannot see in yourself. So pursue peace and holiness. Go after it. And then watch out for those. Watch out for forfeiting God's grace and a defiling bitter spirit, a bitter root. Because bitterness is like that. It always seeks company. Have you not watched or been part of a group and watch a root of bitterness spread? Misery seeks company, so does bitterness. And when we are filled with fear, we are standing in danger of becoming resentful. Of course, bitterness will result and go very deep into the marrow of our being. So watch out for forfeiting God's grace. Pursue peace and holiness, and watch for those who are given to slipping. Come alongside of them. Help them so that they don't become like Esau, who had every opportunity to do what's right, but he despised what was rightfully his. He sold his birthright for a single meal. That's when we despise the grace of God, the goodness of God. We start moaning and groaning and grumbling around every corner and feel that life constantly is throwing us a curveball or a lemon. So the challenge in this paragraph from 14 to 17 is take up your responsibility. How do you create meaning? Take responsibility for what is around you and what is happening to you. Because the more you take up that responsibility, the more meaningful your life becomes because you are focusing in on that which gives purpose and direction. And here, the purpose and direction has to do with sticking to Christ, going with the program, not forsaking that which God has given us. Then in verse 18 to 24, the second big challenge comes up. And now it has to do with what do you stand to lose through defection? If you are your brother's keeper, what do you or we stand to lose when somebody slips or slides and falls away? Because I am my brother's keeper. Well, verse 18 to 24 is a short piece of what the Christian stands to lose through spiritual indifference or carelessness, and how that impacts the group, impacts the team, impacts the assembly. Right? And I explains that to his readers that they need to be responsible for those of their own prone to apostatizing, because they are not coming to the terrifying God of the Mosaic covenant, but to the wonderful God of the new covenant. Verse 18 says, "For you have not come to what may be touched, a blazing fire and darkness and gloom, and a tempest and the sound of a trumpet and a voice of those of whose words made the hearers beg that no further messages be spoken to them. For they could not endure the order that was given. If even a beast touches the mountain, it shall be stoned." Indeed, so terrifying was the sight that Moses said, "I tremble with fear." Remember how that God called the people close to the mountain? Moses calls them because God gave them their constitution on 2 tablets of stone. But there was a pyrotechnical display on that mountain: fire, blazing fire, smoke, gloom, tempest, and then the voice of God. And it's interesting that 3 times these people of God say, "We will do whatever God commands." And eventually they opt out and say, "No, listen, Moses, you go up. This is too terrifying for us." Because God wanted to communicate to his people directly. And yet the people said, "No, no, no, Moses, this is for you. Please do what you need to." So while that's a terrifying scene, the old covenant and the giving of the law, we don't come to one like that. Verse 22 says, "But you have come to Mount Zion and to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to innumerable angels in festal gathering, and to the assembly of the firstborn who are enrolled in heaven." These are believers who have gone before us. And notice this word, the assembly of the firstborn. We'll talk about that in a moment. "And you've come to the judge, to God, the judge of all, and of the spirits of the righteous made perfect, and to Jesus, the mediator of a new covenant, and to the sprinkled blood that speaks a better word than the blood of Abel." That's the one that we come to. So 18 to 21 is not the profile of that to which we come. But 22 to 24, that's the profile of the one to which we come. He is none other than the God of heaven, the judge of all. And it says that when you come to this, when you're coming to Mount Zion, the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to the festal gathering and to the assembly of the firstborn. Now, the divine assembly is an idea which is spoken of across the Old Testament. It comes up in Psalm 82, Psalm 89, the divine council, how that God and his family, his heavenly family, the spirit beings, they are all created beings. They are part of the assembly of the firstborn who are enrolled in heaven. So these are they who have gone before us, right? Not only believers who have passed on, but also the spirit beings who are part of the family of God. He's the judge of all. And we come to Jesus, the mediator of a new covenant, and to the sprinkled blood that speaks a better word. Now, watch what is happening here. Because in 18 to 24, we don't come to the old, but we come to the new. And the writer explains what the old looks like: terrifying, blood curdling. The sound of the words made the hearers beg that no further message be given to them. It was the encounter at the mountain when God gave the law. But we come not to the old, but to the new, to Mount Zion, the city of the living God, who is the judge of all, and to Jesus, the mediator of a new covenant. And so the contrast could be no more spectacular and certain. We come to the new and we don't visit the old. We don't even revisit the old. We have a new and living way that has been inaugurated for us. The curtain has been torn, and I have direct access to the throne room of God. That is why I am responsible. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am, in every way possible. Am I my sister's keeper? Yes, I am. Who is responsible? The believing community are responsible. And later on in chapter 13, in a future episode, we're going to look at the importance of the leaders inside of that believing community who also function as gatekeepers. It's leaders together with the believing community who gatekeep the process of dispositional knowing, of how people, how believers get to know and understand and learn who God is in the context of community. It's not just one professional called Clerical George who constantly pontificates from the front, from behind the podium, telling people what to believe. But it's as the community engages together, it's a both and. It's not an either or. And we have made the one-man show the be-all and the end-all of what gatekeeping is all about in the believing community, in the assembly. Remember when we assemble, Hebrews 10, verse 29, 25 to 29 talks about not forsaking the assembling of yourselves together as the manner of some is. Getting together is crucial because it's together that we grow, that we one another, that we engage in the one another's, that we strengthen each other. And so as we close out our time, the community is responsible as the gatekeeper of commitment. Watch out for those who struggle. Get alongside of them. Help them. Suffering is a part of the deal. It's a sign and substantiation of our sonship. It is proof that we are the children of the living God. So let's get with the program. Stick-to-itiveness is crucial. Even though we are shaken and not stirred, we can still stand in the midst of great challenge. On this last day of the working week, let's face the day with great confidence as we go with God. I trust that you will enjoy Him today as you go with Him. God bless you.